One. All right, we're back. The Bearded Bros Golf Show 2023 US Open at LA Country Club just came to its conclusion with with our winner, Wyndham Clark. I'm Rod.
And I'm Marcus.
We talked earlier in the year, about a month ago, when Wyndham Clark won the Wells Fargo at Quail Hollow Club. Could he do it again? Was he a flash in the pan? Was he going to be kind of a continuation of this year's winners, first time winners, where they don't go on to do much afterwards? But as we always say, cream rises to the crop. He looked the part this week. What do you think
Mhm.
about this win? Let's start there. Just what do you think about Wyndham Clark backing up his Wells Fargo win with a U.S. Open win, his first major?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, maybe just even yesterday when we were talking about how he, deep down just wants to talk noise and play the best. I mean, he ended up doing that. He got to 12, kind of came back to the field, but I mean, he showed he had the pedigree to win on the biggest stage. And I mean, I felt like when everybody was kind of complaining and finding things to gripe about, he just kept on about his way and found a way to dig it out and win. I mean, he had a lot of clutch putts down the end, a clutch par save on 16 that we were just talking about too. Like, I mean, when it came down to it, he put on a show when he needed to, and I think he solidified himself as one of the top players on the tour for at least the next couple of years if he can keep this going and keeping that controllable little fade he's got going right now as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's a big hitter. They kept saying he was placing his fairway finder out there, but that fairway finder was going about 300. So
Right.
kudos for him for being able to find the fairway with a conservative little bop to the left and let that thing just kind of fade off to the right there a little bit. So kudos
Easy
to him.
business.
I want to say, honestly, we were just talking about this as well. Kind of the last whole last night really to me told the story of where this was going to go.
Yeah.
I had placed a comment on a poll that I had on our community on the community tab here, asking who did we think who was going to win today, Rickie Fowler, Wyndham Clark, Rory, or Scotty Scheffler, who was a few strokes back. But going into 18 last night, Wyndham Clark hits the flagstick, just aims right at it, hits it, knocks it down. Luckily, didn't have too much spin on it. Was able to convert the birdie putt. Conversely, you had Rickie Fowler three putting, looking a bit flummoxed on that par putt where it lipped out on the left hand side. And the bogey putt wasn't a guarantee either.
Right.
A lot of posts today on social media of Ricky sticking around, signing autographs, doing press, etc. Just doing the gracious thing that made Ricky popular. And I
Yeah.
think it was easy to, lean on the emotional side and say, okay, dude's going to be okay. He's kind of just, it was a little blip on the radar, but it was very clear early on today. He was just kind of holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
While Wyndham Clark was, honestly early on started off pretty strong. Rory also started off strong as well with the birdie on one, had 12 straight pars in the middle of his round, and then, ended up bogeying the hole as well. So, yeah, I think Wyndham Clark does look the part. Dude looks like I mean he's buff.
Yeah.
Hits it a ton, and I agree. Next couple of years, as long as he can keep the mental side of his game together, I think he'll be really good and possibly go on a tear here. I think it's just cool, as we've discussed many times, the amount of good golf and stars that are coming about is
Exactly.
pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, and it's legit. It's not just because other people are falling off. Again, all the stars came out. We got live golfers mixed with PGA Tour. Our favorite live golfer, Brooks Koepka, complaining about the course, saying he didn't like it. Early on, also didn't play very well. I don't think there's no coincidence that if you struggle to, find something to like about the course, it's not uncommon for you to
True.
struggle. What are your thoughts on the complaints about the course? Brooks, as well as Victor Hovland, being very vocal, bunch of armchair quarterbacks as well, criticizing the course after the record scoring in round one, which honestly was a blip. That was a small part of the story. I mean, the average pretty much held after that
Yeah.
point. So, what do you think about the course overall from your perspectives? We'll get back to the complaints about it, but from what did you see watching it on TV, and what did you enjoy about the course or dislike?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably about since 2016, 2017, we've been seeing under par scores regularly win the US Open now. It is what it is. And it's just something that the players need to go ahead and get adjusted to and acclimated to. This isn't 2000. It isn't 2012. We're not playing for even par golf. We're playing with a bunch of young guys that are fearless, that don't mind going flag hunting because they know that when they make birdies, it doesn't matter how many bogeys they're going to make because they're going to make birdies to get it back. They're going to try to recruit that score in any way possible. A lot of these guys don't lay up on par fives anymore. If it's anywhere near their reaching distance or their 3 wood distance or whatever, they're going to try to get up around the green because their short game is world class. So again,
Yeah,
I don't think that a U.S. Open like this year is anything that we need to, try to shoo away. I feel like the course ended up toughening up like it should. The conditions were great for golf, so it's not like you didn't have, I mean, conditions that weren't favorable. The win was about a club win. The fairways were rolling. So it's not like if you weren't in the fairways, you couldn't get rollout to make these shots shorter, to make these shots more, reachable as far as with spin and with trajectory and stuff like that. So I don't think it's anything that we haven't seen before, especially when you see DJ go out and shoot 17 under and stuff like that. Just not even a
yeah.
decade ago at this at a at Oak Hill, which they say is even more tougher. So I don't
Is
think
it
the venue
was it
is
Oakmont or Oak Hill? I can't remember.
mm,
Sorry.
me neither. No, it probably
Whatever.
was Oakmont. No, 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 no.
Okay.
This probably was Oakmont. But again, I mean, besides the, you're right. Besides the fact though, like the U.S. Open is about scoring now, and then just holding on, taking your bogeys when it happens, and then moving on. So I liked the way the course played. Again, I'm a par 72 guy. I don't always like the 530-yard par fours. I would prefer that
Yeah.
be, a fun par five, and then you have like a few 490, 500-yard par fours. That's fine because these guys are hitting at 330 anyways, and now their 160 club is a 9 iron anyways, or a flight at 8. So again,
But I
you're
think
acting
with the
like we're about to get a wedge all the time.
I know, but I think with the five par threes that they had out there, I mean, you could at
You're
least
gonna get some
gone to par
scoring.
71. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. I like the par threes out here. I didn't think they were unreasonable, especially with those longer ones being downhill. Even though
right.
they were playing well over, 200, a couple over 250 or whatnot. They played fair.
Definitely.
Even the shortish one, that played 87 yards on Saturday. I think it's fun, right? It's a
Who wouldn't want to have a
precisional.
wedge in their hand?
Yeah. It's not like that was the easiest, hole in the course yesterday either. So we always talk about you don't have to have length to make the course hard. I think the setup was fair because if you trick it out, right? Let's say you bake the fairways out as well. You don't throw any water on them during the week, and they're running down into that Bermuda rough all day
Exactly.
unfairly. There were some really sloping fairways that if you didn't hit the right side of the fairway, that it would go down to the other side, or if you didn't get it high enough, you were going to end up on the opposite side of the rough, which that
Yeah,
rough was pretty damn treacherous. Yes, they were talking about how they had some weak spots in certain parts of it, but you saw a lot of clubs get turned over, going, people trying to,
exactly,
to
bro.
hack out of there and turning their club over, and then kind of the bunkering around the greens with the fescue. Even in the fairway cut, there was just some really nice elements to this course that again, you're adjusting to the modern game, creating some things that players aren't used to seeing. And I think that fescue and different grass types that honestly, I was surprised in California that they had Bermuda just because of the temperature. And, typically you
Exactly.
see
Very true.
some different grass types in California and on the West Coast. So it was cool to see that and just kind of see just a different flavor, right? From versus what we
Agreed.
saw at the PGA Championship. Very different setup there as well. So I don't know. I appreciate the variety. We're three majors in, and again, you're always going to have complaints. Again, if you had baked out the fairways, made the greens virtually unplayable, where you couldn't hold the green, you'd have people complaining there too. So you're never going to
Facts.
win the entire crowd over. Um, again, not fun is some of the criticism from Brooks is not very nuanced. He just said he didn't like the course, and
Yeah.
that's cool. Hovland's criticism was more along the lines of there weren't many memorable holes. He's like, there's maybe one great hole out here. The rest of it's kind of ho hum. Again, he didn't play his best golf either, so it's very subjective, I believe. When you play well, I bet you would say that Wyndham Clark says the course is memorable, right? Going to have good memories of how it went down and how it was set up. It worked for him. So again, we talked about this last week, John Rahm. Every course is not going to be your preferred setup. It's just not fit for everybody's game is different. Your
Right.
strengths are different. So you either adjust your game and be adaptable or you complain. And I don't know. To me, it just feels like that's something that you defeat yourself before you even tee it up.
Right.
When you're talking about course conditions and the way the course looks or whatnot, right? It's just
No, agreed.
there's so many different styles of golf out here. I didn't find anything about this course offensive. It was visually cool. I love California, so it's the kind of golf that I enjoy. I would enjoy playing.
Yeah.
So course complaints be damned. I let's talk about Rickie. Him making a resurgence, the game looking good, tied first two rounds, co-leading through three, and then today just did not have it. I'd say the swing looks pretty damn good. I was
Yeah.
surprised he was hitting so many draws though. That was very surprising to me. I don't know. I'm just previously with his swing previously before the change. I thought he was hitting more, you know, fades left to right. What do you think about his swing change and how he came through in the first three rounds through, let's say, before 18 yesterday?
So I mean, I think he had been talking about how he was trying to get more vertical with his swing, not as much laid off, trying to get more in the quote unquote slot and everything like that. But I mean, basically, what happened is he came running back to Butch. Butch got him straightened out. And so, like, Butch is a very natural teacher. So him going to Rickie was like, just go with what you feel. Now, I will say that Rickie's game started to, kind of come back when he was predominantly playing that fade, just a little bit more controllable than him slinging a draw and trying to mass produce distance that he didn't have to and everything like that. So I too was wondering about the draw. I think the fade looks good on him for right now. So I think that's what he needs to play to. And I just think, ever since he hasn't won since the players in 2014. So
Yeah,
he just needs to get back around the leaderboards again, feel what it's like to be in the hunt. I mean, clearly, like, yes, he made that 3 putt bogey, but it's just like what we were saying. He was just excited to be in the moment. Like,
yeah.
well, Rickie, we got to get past that. Like you got to get back in the winning mode. Like, yeah, I don't mind being there, but I need to be winning. Like, we need to change the thought process there. But you know, Rickie's gonna
It's
do
tough.
that.
I mean, I think with 2 points on this kind of modern equipment doesn't necessarily always set up for easy draws. It's just the
Right.
way it's set up. As it's just tough to consistently get a draw. Most players play the fade these days, and that's largely equipment based. But and also when you are in the midst of a swing change, I mean, he's only a couple of years into that, right? Maybe not even a full two. Um, when that pressure is on you, it's tough to maintain that form, right? Sometimes you just
Yeah,
can't. He looked like it was easy going for him those first 3 days, and just walking the fairways, looking like old Ricky. Um, just a mature version of himself, but it looked easy. Little tight swings today. There was that long par three where he kind of just dropped it off to the right, and you could just tell it was not he was not comfortable today, and that was very
yeah,
unfortunate. Just having the fans cheering for him. The old roars were back coming from the crowd cheering for Ricky. It was interesting with his new variation of orange. I was looking at some photos of him, and a lot of old school ones came up when he was fully decked out, orange pants, orange shirt. But just seeing the mature version of Rickie Fowler, was
yeah.
very cool
Just a
on
highlight of
Sunday. But
orange.
yeah, just a little bit, a little pop. But I'm rooting for him because he is generally a good guy. You don't hear much bad about Ricky. We were talking last week after all the live crap that he left about 75 million on the table, and
Yeah,
it would have been easy for him, like a lot of the guys that took off for that league, to say, hey, I'm struggling with my game. I'm going to go get this easy paycheck and take the money and run. But he didn't. He stuck in there, battled back as his game was struggling, found the commitment to dig deep, make the swing change, and, return to form. And it's
yeah.
tough.
Found his way.
Tournament, any major tournament's tough to win. And so we see that with Rory falling just short again, and I let's think that's a good transition into that. So Rory, by all accounts, if you put Rory's season at this stage in anybody else's lap, they'd probably be happy. A
Right.
lot of top
Content.
10 finishes. He's finished second in a major in the U.S. Open. Coming up short, even didn't perform very well in the Masters. Um, I'm trying to think. What was our first one? PGA Championship. He was around, right? But
Yeah.
we talked about this before the show started. 2 bad days of putting. Couldn't get close with the irons. Was
Yeah.
leading the tournament in greens and regulation. I think like halfway through today's round, he was about 82% in greens and regulation. Pretty good on some, some somewhat smallish greens.
Yeah.
Um, you know, what do you think, man? I mean, Rory, we are big fans of Rory. If you're listening, and we are stands for Rory. Felt bad for him, having to stick his neck out for the PGA Tour, getting screwed
Yeah.
over by Jay Monahan. Ultimately, having to be in front of pressers all the time, which he skipped this week, which I think was a big key in keeping him focused. But what do you think about Rory's game and where he's trending? And he's got one more shot this year.
Yeah.
At the Open. Where do you place Rory in the hierarchy?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we have some type of maybe not even a full segment, but there's not a time like I feel like these last maybe honestly 2 months that we haven't brought up Rory at some point. Because I mean, we are like we're legitimate fans. We wanted to see him succeed. And it's like you keep putting yourself on the doorstep, but then we're not seeing the work come in on the putting. Like I mean, like tee to green, just easily the most dominant player right now. I mean, nobody's doing anything with the golf ball that he's doing. I mean, the guy is flying 7 irons, like pitching wedges. I mean, like the way he flights the ball, the way he comes into greens. I mean, you would expect him to be a little bit more, in the hunt. And I just felt like he was second, but it was distant. I felt like it was truly on that back nine when I came back to watching it. I just felt like it was Wyndham's to lose, not Rory's to win, because
Yeah,
you kept seeing Rory come into greens and it'd be like a decent shot. It'd be like he'd be begging for it. It'd come out and then it's 40 feet away. And it's like, now you got to bank on your putter to actually drain something it's
right.
always been historically your weakest point. I think Like, I think we need to do something about that. But again, it's just he's trending
Yeah,
so much in the right way. I can't give up. Like, I want to see him
no,
make that next step. Like,
no. The
Lord,
putter though is a big was a big part of this week, right? I mean,
right. With the
clearly
way the greens were running, yeah,
he had to play it careful. You know, you're coming 30 feet out. You know, a lot of putts were coming up short. Unfortunately, he was hole high and 30 foot left or right.
yeah,
You know, I didn't see him above a bunch of holes where he was having to be super cautious. But I think we saw this with Scotty today. Scotty Scheffler, quite a few putts were running away from him, and he had to squeeze in quite a few kind of tough pars, kind of out of the circle of friendship type
yeah,
of pars. And you know, I see Rory maybe guarding against that, but I don't know when you are that close to the lead. I don't feel like you can leave putt short. You have to
true,
give it a run and just trust that you can make the comebacker. And I think that's the frustrating part is how many putts that he left short today, as well as he played. You know, getting the ball around this course. Again, like you said, otherworldly talent. The shot he hit on 17 today, coming into that green, 200 plus yards, having to carry a bunker and
right,
still hold the green, which he barely just, you know, crept off the green just slightly. But being able to do that type, pull off that type of shot, like you said, the talent that he has is incredible, and he does things with the ball that other players just, you know, like I mean, we watched Wyndham Clark just bully a golf ball around today, and
right,
Rory even tops that, which is
right.
crazy. So
Seriously,
to see that man not be able to get a win is frustrating as a fan of his game. Again, I hope that he contends in the Open, which is coming up again in July. We are, you know, month to month. It feels like this year is both gone by fast, and we still have a ton of year left to go.
right,
Um, but you know, let's see him contend. If he wins, it's not the end of the world. Or doesn't win, it's not the end of the world. But hopefully, he hits the reset button going into next year. You
good point.
know, last year I feel like he played a lot of events into kind of the wraparound part of the season. He was playing in November, December. Hopefully, he can put some work in on those weaker areas of his game. I feel like his wedges have gotten so much better. That used to be a weak point. Putting clearly is where he needs to make up some strokes. I think that's
Yeah,
also the case for Scotty Scheffler. Putter wasn't as bad as it's been for Scotty, but again, very few putts made that counted for either player. So today was a little bit ho hum in that second to last group. But like you said, Wyndham Clark, it was his tournament to lose after
yep,
he kind of broke free from Rickie and moved on. You know, so congrats to him again. Again, I think just he's got the physical talent. It's all mental for Wyndham Clark. Um, so anyhow, um, let's see. Talked about the course, the complaining. I want to talk about Justin Thomas, man. I mean, my guy shot like an 80, what, two?
yeah. It came up and bit him. My boy didn't have it.
And he does
He said
not
he
have
got
it.
humbled.
And he's had a good sense of humor about it online today. But how my guy he's been cut from, of course, the U.S. Open. The Memorial was cut, and the PGA Championship he was tied for 65th. So the results have not been there for JT.
Yeah,
You know, had a pretty respectable finish in the PGA Championship, but I don't know, man. It feels like his game has been trending in the wrong direction this year. He hasn't really been the JT of old. I mean, dude is also another otherworldly talent. Is there anything that you've seen, or just I don't know, man? I can't even put my finger on why he's been so bad. It's just like
yeah. I
nothing's working for him right now.
I think him and also Spieth. Unfortunately, I just think they're in a little lull. I mean, I feel like Spieth has a kid now, JT's married now. I mean, it's kind of like what we were talking about with Rory. Like, you got life problems that you're dealing with. You're not really worried about golf right now,
I
and I
can't.
know it's your
I,
job
I'm.
and
I'm. A,
stuff.
I'm gonna
I,
go and
I,
say that's BS, bro. That's BS. No, I'm not giving you that one. I'm
I
not giving.
mean, he went crazy in the PGA last year. He shot the show. I mean, he shot
Yeah.
the golf show. I mean, he's just got a lot going on. I don't think he's far off. I mean, when you strike the ball like JT and when you putt like Spieth, they're never far away. So I'm not really worried, to be honest. So I think
Okay.
he just needs it. It's just like what he said. I mean, the game comes up, it bites you. It ain't always going to be fun, but you live to fight another day. And I mean, the way he flights the ball now, I mean, he could contend in the Open easily. And I
This is
mean,
true.
I don't think it's that big of a I don't think it's that big of a deal. And
You,
I just think, and JT needs a reset, but I don't know. It
okay.
could be
I mean,
some. It could be something a little bit more in there.
you never know, right? We don't know what's going on in the background of these folks' lives. This week we have another designated event coming up, the Travelers, which is a
Yeah,
popular spot, for people to play. It's the week after a major. So it'll be interesting to see who still has, I can't remember at this point who has
yeah. Who
missed a
shows up?
tournament. And yeah, I know Rom has already skipped, Scheffler's already skipped, Rory's already skipped. So we'll see all of those names, or we'll see them sacrificing pit money, which at this point, who knows if they care about that extra money coming in or whatnot. But
Facts.
another big event. There's been so much damn good golf this year. It's ridiculous. We keep talking about it. We keep talking about the talent that's on the tour. Nothing really developed out of the Live PGA situation. Pretty quiet, as no new details have arose. But apparently, Jay Monahan, you know, fell ill, had a
Yeah,
medical incident this week. We don't know, no details have leaked out. Could it just be them writing the story for him? Who the hell knows? But at this point, this PGA Live thing has become like a soap opera, and who knows where it's going to go. But like I said, we'll see who shows up next week at the Travelers. I hope JT has a bounce back. His 80 something round kind of reminded me of something that um, the Gin site had going on. So they kind of had a little thing where you could plug your handicap into the Gin site, or they would say, "Hey, in reference to your handicap, this is what you would shoot at LA Country Club." Mine came up as I would shoot a 90 out there. I couldn't believe that. What do you think after watching this course? A hand JT and 82. What do you think you would shoot out there? If it says I would shoot a 90, I don't believe that. I don't know. I'd be elated if I broke 100 or 110 or
yeah.
120. I don't know. It looks hard as shit. I know we're not playing from the same tees, but what would you say?
If nah, ain't no. We shoot
I
90 to
didn't believe.
100. Yeah, nah, we shoot 90 to 100 easily, right at about 100. Even just first look, being able to drive it, and definitely not being as near as good shape as those guys to have the forearm strength to hit it out of the rough, control it. We'd be hitting so many layups and stuff, layups on
Yeah.
par fours that were five. I mean, we play RT box and it's 480. We'd still be hitting a lot of long shots into greens. Like, no, no, I
Yeah,
don't
and
I
of
don't
course the
see it.
setup. I'm sure the normal setup is very different for the members that play.
They probably do play a
The
par 72. They probably do.
I wouldn't doubt it. You know
Yeah.
how many courses we've talked about in the past that the setup for regular. I always reference Texas Rangers converts into a Corn Ferry stop,
Yeah.
and the pars is they switch the nines. A couple of the one of the par fives is definitely like a long par four. So I
Hmm.
wouldn't doubt if he's like you said, it's a par 72 on a normal basis. But yeah, I just found that very interesting. I was like, oh, this is surprising. That it would give me that. But anyhow, Um, what else from the U.S. Open week did we miss? So, I mean, we've covered quite a bit. Anything else that I missed?
Um, no, not really. I mean, Brooks came out in his presser and said, "See you at the Travelers next week." I thought that was funny.
He's a
Um,
jackass, bro. He's
yeah,
such a
that
jackass.
was some clown shit to say, but it was funny in the moment. No, I mean, besides the complaining stuff, I don't think we really missed anything. And we talked about the complaining. And really, it's just like what
Yeah,
we said. Everything ain't going to be designed for you. And, it's a US Open, it's a major. And it's just like what everybody was saying. This is the hardest major. So, do you want
yeah.
the hardest major to be 20 under? Just like we was talking about. The course setup is going to allow you to get as low as you can, and then you hold on from there. So, I think the complaining stuff is just ridiculous. But no, I don't think we really. I mean, we hit the main topics. I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I do want to shout out Scotty Scheffler too. We said last week, dude just hangs around in the top 10 every damn
Another
week.
top five.
Top 20, top 20 is like, hey man, I'm off a little bit this week, but
Right.
dude he's a machine. Um, I don't know, man. I feel like the golf that he plays, the ball striking is it's so crazy how good Scotty Scheffler is. And we talk about Rory being able to get height. Scotty Scheffler gets a lot of height on his irons as well. He
Yeah.
throws it up there and just lets it, fall out of the sky. But shout out to him. I don't want to miss giving him his flowers and just really acknowledging how well he did. And just overall has been performing over the last 2 years.
I
And
mean,
Perry, I'm gonna put this up here. Yeah, we talked about this, Perry. If you're just joining, uh, watching him and Rory putt today was a torture fest. Neither one of them could make a putt to save their lives,
yeah.
and it hurt. It just hurt. Scotty was blowing them by. Rory's leaving them short. Yeah, I don't know. Somebody needs to put on a PGA Tour putting clinic because it was between those two guys. It was a bit of a struggle. I don't know. Even after watching Wyndham Clark today lag it right next to the hole. Even he might be able to provide some tips for him. But yeah, shout out
Right.
to No Putt and Scotty. Like they said several times on the broadcast, if he just putted average, I think last year he was like kind of 58 on tour with strokes gained putting, kind of just
Yeah.
middle of the field, and dominated, right? So when he's
Hmm.
in the hundreds, he still places top five, which is crazy. If the dude could get under 50 in strokes gained putting, watch out, man. He would
Yeah.
just wreck field. So
I mean, he's
anyway, y'all.
top
No, go
12.
ahead.
He hasn't finished lower than 12 in a year. And I mean, again, I mean, just another top five machine. And he is the literally the poster child now for swing your swing. Nobody gonna tell him not to twirl his feet and do a
Right.
pirouette off the box. No more.
Bro, those feet are all over the place. And the
Yeah,
more you watch it, he's getting, of course, well deserved coverage. I'm just watching those feet and I'm like, man, they're all over the place.
I
But he
tried to
finds a
swing it in the
way.
shop. I can't. I can't hold my balance. There is no holding your balance with that.
He's center of the club face every time though. So whatever he's doing, he's got it going. I just wanted
Yeah.
to look up like how much money he's earned. So Scotty, turned pro 3 years ago in 2020, and I would say the bulk of this money has been made in the last 2 years. Dude has made $37 million on tour since joining. He has been racking up the dollars. And I don't even want to know what his endorsement checks look like at this point. With his
Right.
wholesome image, family guy, eating ice
He a
cream with his
star.
wife in East Dallas. Dude's like, straight up whole milk. And he's probably cleaning up left and right in addition to his, on course earnings. So shout out to
Right.
Dallas native, Scotty Scheffler. He's not a native, but Dallas adoptee, Scotty Scheffler. But anyway, yeah, we've hit it hard. I mean, if you're on the stream and you're not a subscriber to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. We do this every Sunday, depending on usually 7 o'clock. But with the West Coast finish, we came on a little bit later today. Appreciate everybody joining, sticking with us. Beater Bros Golf Show. I'm Rod again.
And I'm Marcus.
We'll catch you next week. Peace.